harmonization of standards, the development of the SME sector, the women and the youth in trade. These are the things that will drive the continent.
With restrictions lifted in most parts of Africa, organizers of the Intra African Trade Fair want to boost cross-border trade and investments in the continent. They say this could help Africa quickly recover from the economic shocks caused by the pandemic. The South African government in KwaZulu-Natal will host the Intra African Trade Fair for 1 week in November. It is expected that the event will bring together exhibitors from across 54 countries in Africa, with a target of cutting $40 billion in trade and investment deals. Nabil Ahmed Rufai, SABC News, Accra, Ghana.
For more on this, we're now joined by Bakary Kone, a director at the African Capacity Building Foundation. Bakary, a very good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to the Globe. Bakary, please unmute your device. We're not able to hear you.
Thank you. Good evening to me, and thank you very much for having me.
Indeed, it's an absolute pleasure having you join us this evening, sir. Now, do these intra-African trade fairs bring about or translate into real investment in the long term? If so, can you give us some examples?
I think that's a very good question. But it is a question that would have required that we conduct an impact assessment of the IATF, as we call it. But this is something we've not done yet as the African Capacity Building Foundation, but something that we would want to do with our very good partner, that is AfCFTA. We have a long-standing partnership with AfCFTA, and I think this is something that we should somehow include in our work plan. But what I can tell you right now is that if you take the reasons for low intra-African trade, among a long list of reasons, you have trade information. Mm-hmm. And what we believe is that the fair will contribute immensely to that trade information. To me, so how would you like a businessman in West Africa to buy in South Africa if they don't know what is on offer in South Africa or what South Africa is capable of manufacturing? So this kind of gathering will be a very good opportunity to respond to that kind of question.
All right, let's now reflect on the newly launched African Continental Free Trade Area. Firstly, why has it taken so long to have a single market for goods and services across 55 countries? Secondly, what kind of opportunities is this free trade area likely to unblock? And thirdly, what could be the possible stumbling blocks?
Well, thank you very much for that question. I don't want to try to lower your enthusiasm, but we are not really yet at the stage of trading across 55 countries because, as you might know, only 54 countries have signed the agreement so far, and 36 member states of the African Union have ratified. So we don't have a total coverage of the continent yet. Yet, the agreement, the AfCFTA, entered into effect in May, on the 30th of May 2019, and trade under the CFTA rules are in effect from the 1st of January this year. So we still have a paperwork to do in some of the countries, but I would say the CFTA is on track for achieving its objective, which is to create the 55 country markets you're talking about. So having said that, it is really important to say that what has taken us so long, among the reasons why there's low intra-African trade is the low productive capacity in our countries. So you have that as, that reinforces, if you will, the fear of the countries that are not manufacturing that much of this sentiment of being invaded by the product that will come from the countries that have better manufacturing possibilities. But let's not forget, that the whole reflection around a free market in Africa is coming from further. It's coming from the Abuja Treaty in 1991, and it's actually got sped up after the Kigali Declaration in 2018. So now the agreement is on track, but I was saying another big reason, aside from the productivity, the production reason I said before, another one is probably the trade traditions we have in our countries. You note that in many of our countries, it is still easier for people to trade with the former colonial country than their neighbors. So you have that, and you have the whole bureaucracy that is preventing things from harmonizing, even within our regional economic communities, but we'll talk about that a bit later, if you will.
Yeah.
So one, there's this fear that can be allayed, and it should be allayed, and it should be one of the avenues that the whole sensitization that is ongoing will help to allay, but also the fact that there's still this reflex of trading with the former colonial master than the neighbor. But we are getting there bit by bit.
And we have regional blocs like ECOWAS and SADC. How, in your view, does the Intra African Trade Fair strengthen or get these blocs to communicate more on an investment and business level?
No, thank you. You will agree with me that if we have free trade within the regional blocs, the regional economic communities, that will constitute the real building block for an African free trade. So you take ECOWAS, for example. ECOWAS was created in 1975, but there is a free trade in ECOWAS for the past many, many years. But despite that, if you take simply trade within ECOWAS, we are not over the issues yet. From Lagos in Nigeria to Accra in Ghana, it is less than 500 kilometers. But it takes more than one day to some traders to do just this distance.
True.
So the role of these regional blocs are extremely important, because if we can trade among SADC countries, we can trade among EAC countries, COMESA countries, ECOWAS countries, chances are that the African overall free trade area we are all dreaming about would just be expedited, accelerated, which is what we all want. Now, if you say, if you take what is happening in some of the cross-border trades, you certainly are aware of the role of women in that cross-border trade, and one of the main factors for success of the AfCFTA is definitely to make sure those traders, those who are on the ground, are very much on board from the very beginning, so that this is not just a top-down kind of process in which citizens will not find their way.
Okay. Okay. And what should African governments then be doing to facilitate easier trading and investment conditions within the continent? I mean, there's issues around visa regulations which have been eased in most of these countries, but what else can the governments do?
No, thank you. I think everyone should be happy that we're getting there when it comes to visa regulations. We've made progress in many of our countries. Though I will say it is still easier from a citizen of Lithuania to travel across Africa than a citizen of Lesotho, and this is to be regretted. Yeah. So I think there's still some work to be done. But what else government can do? I think the first thing to do is to really start with implementing the agreements that we sign. I was saying 36 countries have now ratified the CFTA, AfCFTA agreement. That's a big number. We're not there yet, but we're getting close. It is important that those who have already ratified the agreement really go by their obligations in this agreement and make sure that our custom officials, our our security officials are really understanding all the obligations that are coming with the CFTA so that free circulation of goods and people can really happen, which is indispensable to the development of intra-African trade. So government should first really implement the agreements they sign. When we've done that, and I say it's not something simple to do, but it's important that when we commit to an agreement, we make promises to other parties to this agreement. So it is important that each country really delivers on its promises.
And I suppose that the driving force for those agreements and for the AfCFTA mandate in general is infrastructure. And we know that infrastructure is still a huge problem on the African continent. It's largely an inherited infrastructure from the colonial era, and it doesn't necessarily speak to our current modern-day needs as Africans. But technology, on the other hand, Mr. Kone, it provides opportunities for the African continent to overcome structural and historical challenges, isn't it? So to what extent, then, does technology or maybe innovation around technology feature in such trade fairs?
Well, this is the era of the fourth industrial revolution. Yes. And it is commonly said that we've missed the first three. So there is absolutely no reason why we should miss this one, because we have a large component of youth in our population. Okay. A youth that is creative, that is enthusiastic, that just needs space to express itself. So that's why it is important that our countries really invest in digitalization. Mm-hmm. You will know, Tomiso, that technologies will bring a lot to production and to trade in general. Why is that? Because technologies will help, increase efficiencies. They will help get to new ways of doing business that are absolutely critical if we were to develop trade between ourselves and with the world. So technologies are no longer a matter of option. You can't build a successful economy, a performing economy in this era without clearly opting and investing heavily in technology. Let me take the advantage of your question to say that we still have a number of issues, challenges across the continent when it comes to, for example, digital technology. It is in terms of access, because the cost, okay, first of all, the infrastructure is not that close to people. And when it is close to people in many areas, it is quite expensive. So that's where that heavy investment is to come in, and regulations that will really guarantee creativity and, I would say clearly, freedom when it comes to the digital space. And that is something all our countries, for the sake of the success of the AfCFTA and all the promises that are coming with the CFTA, which are in trillions in African trade, that all our government should really take technology seriously.
Mr. Bakary Kone, Director of the African Capacity Building Foundation, joining us via Zoom. Thank you so much for your time and for sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you again for having me. And just one word to say, everything that we've been saying tonight, and I thank you again for the opportunity, can only be done if we are serious about building the capacity of our people.
Indeed.
We want to increase intra-African trade. That is important. But intra-African trade will develop if the African people have the capacity to conduct the development of that trade. So that is important. That is the work of my organization. Thank you so much.
Indeed, and capacitating the African citizens would provide a solid foundation for the AfCFTA mandate to thrive. Great chatting to you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.